This indeed will be the end of this. Conclusion. Come on, there you go. And in fact, this is going to be very brief, very short, and very fast because I probably made a mistake and probably should have just rolled these slides into the last presentation. I've stretched it out an extra week just to inflict as much punishment as possible, or whatever you want to call it. So with that said, last week I said something about painting and finishing. Yeah, threats. Well, you see me painting, you'd know what I mean by threats. It's something kind of frightening to watch, even at a distance of across the other end of the parking lot. In any case, the weather did cooperate, sort of. It didn't rain, windy and fun, and the sun was shining. So I was out in the driveway with a spray can, a rattle can of red primer from Rust-Oleum in one hand and Boxcar Red in the other hand from Scale Coat. And yes, I'm waving both hands around the car at the same time to get something that looks something like what you're seeing. And if you're careful and don't look like a complete lunatic with two spray cans in your hand, you can actually do this fairly well. And I had this circle because these are the little rivets, nail heads, whatever, that were laser cut into the roof. And you can actually maintain that with a rattle can. You don't need an airbrush necessarily if you're exercise some care and think ahead a little bit and realize, get back a few feet and take your time with this and be very gentle with it. There's no big rush, and you don't have to slather it on. It's not like dipping it in the bucket. You can do it very carefully. So you come up with something like this. I didn't care for the red primer. I thought it was a little off in color. The Boxcar Red was a little too bright. The two together came out acceptable. And decaling, well, I put the black decals on just because I wanted to be perverse about it instead of the white on red. I was feeling rather in a dark place at the time. So it's dark decals on red. Those trucks that it's sitting on are just a matter of convenience. I have no idea what they are. Anybody who recognizes them and knows what they are, feel free to scream at me. I'd like to know what they are. They're not narrow gauge trucks, but they were, they're very, very small wheelbase truck, even for O scale. So I went back and you can see I started hitting the, let's see. Yeah, the stack, the brake wheel, some odds and ends with some black paint. Let's see, I should have that coming up more here. I'm hoping. The decals on this are very, very nice. They come right off the paper beautifully, slide off beautifully right into a puddle on the wood surface, which is semi-gloss already because the paint I used, it's not fully gloss. It's close enough. It didn't complain. They came off, went down nice and smooth, and I could go back with a scalpel and cut every single board free of it, and I just haven't bothered. And you might note, I still haven't put the windows in this yet. They're not glazed yet. Those got painted separately outside also, and only blew down the driveway about 6 feet because they don't weigh anything. Started to touch everything up with some steam black just to give a little contrast. And I have no idea what those trucks are, but they were convenient at the time. So there's glazing supplied. I just glued it to the back of the window frames. They drop right in. The nice thing about this is you can position the windows wherever you like to put them. You can have them closed, you can have them open, or you can have them half and half, which is, I think that's where I left mine. Terribly indecisive. I couldn't decide whether to close them all or open them all. So split the difference, half and half. Underbody, steam black on most of the ironwork, metalwork parts. The rest is Minwax walnut stain. And I could slop more of that on or not. Sometimes I put it on rather heavily. Sometimes I put it on rather light, just to give it a actual wood look as opposed to a painted look. And that's what this car looks like after a 3 or 4 flocks of bees flew over it. And that's my story on that. And I'm sticking with it. I'll hide behind that as best I can. But I put the windows in, they're half open, half not. And I think it's actually a rather nice little car. And I say little because this is a full scale standard switcher. It's the smallest piece of motive power I own. And it's kind of large. It may actually be 17/64. In fact, I'm betting it actually is 17/64. So it's actually doubly oversized for an ON3 car. But it's parked on my layout. I like the way it looks. It was a fun build, and I don't build very many narrow gauge cars, maybe once every 3 years, and I still had fun with it. And I think it's a rather good kit. I hope everybody had fun building it. There's a lot of possibilities and fun with this car. And it's not a kit that tests your soul or your metal too badly. It's very straightforward. So we're going to wrap it up right there. And I hope to see what anybody else has done a month from now. And we'll call it done.